Real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Midnight's Edge in the Morning. I am Tom Connors. We have the boss man, Andre, here. How you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Greetings, everyone. Today is Deadpool Day for me. So, yeah.
For you, yeah. We got to wait another day yet. And also joining us, the one, the only Mexican Iron Man. Ay, ay, ay. Good morning.
Hi, everybody. Great to be here. Got up super early this morning, 7 a.m. Then went to go see a client, said my goodbyes to Paul Chato and his kid. I'm packed, but I'm here for a couple hours. I'm free, and I hear there's some Disney news that we can talk about before I have to head off to go pick up Max. So hope I get to learn how much more money I've lost on this freaking stock.
Yeah.
Well, I think that Ike Perlmutter may have contributed to you just having lost a tiny little bit more, but we shall get into that.
Yeah. So with that, let's say hello to our chat. We have so many regulars filing in already. Please share out the link. Let everybody know that we are live on YouTube, The Green Machine, and X. So wherever you'd like to watch us, we are there. And thank you for being here. We have some super chats to get through already this morning, so let's do that. We got Packing Protons, who sends in $5. Thank you so much for the support. It says, chances they sold in hopes of driving stock down so they can buy even more control cheaper. Well, we'll definitely get into that.
Into the first topic. So let's revisit this one in a couple of minutes when we get into that.
But we'll keep that in mind. And then we got Ruby Hoove, who gifted a membership. Thank you for that. Dr. Long Dongler sending in his £1.99 super sticker to remind us to hit that thumbs up. And Dr. Long Dongler's is that a hamster or a gerbil with a sword? I'm down with that.
We're going to call it a hamster because hamsters run all our computers. So let the hamsters run free and let them fight with their swords. So yes, it's a hamster. I've declared it officially.
And then Packing Proton sends in $10 as conspiracy theory for the day spotted online. The White House has Biden AI that the CloudStrike update took down. Now we know that Tom's Biden does on his off nights. It's official, or he's official.
I was about to say, have you seen that clip with Kamala with the flags in the background, and she's talking about how much she loves Joe and Jill, and then he calls in.
Everything's fine. I'm fine, you're fine. I'm watching you, kid. We're doing a great job. Keep it up. You're fine. I'm fine. Everybody's fine. You're doing a great job, kid. Keep it up. We're gonna...
Yeah, that right there, that was a hell of more convincing than we just saw from Kamala right there.
Well, he keeps rebooting because of the CrowdStrike thingy or whatever, but yeah.
Fantastic.
Not for him. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Then we got Samuel Main sending in a super sticker. That's right. Thank you so very much for that. Let's see what it is here. It is a cup of coffee, and I'm sure we need it this morning. Lord knows I do. I'm just blah. So yeah, thank you for that. The Raven in the writing desk has been a member for 6 months. Thank you for that. We appreciate the support. And speaking of support, we got Packing Protons also sending in a member chat. It says Mike's 5 cents dividend will double with inflation.
Oh, I see. So that's how it's going to be, Packing Protons. It's going to be beat up on the Mexican who's losing money day. Is that what it is? Okay. I'm here for it. Let's go.
Well, to be fair, every day is losing money day for everyone as long as we have inflation.
Indeed, that's true. That's a good point. But
so I would say that inflation is a very equal opportunity. Screw them over. Does that make sense?
Yeah, inflation don't give a shit about your skin color.
Indeed.
But don't everybody jump on it at once. Satan's Retribution sends in 35 South African rands. It said, so will the shareholders finally holding Bob?
So will we see shareholders finally hold Bob accountable now? This is like the last straw in a series of cataclysmic events that's got to force them. Yeah. All right. Let's get into that now when we've run out of all the other super chats here, and let's also revisit Packing Protons super chat for $5. Chances they sold in hopes of driving stock down so they can buy even more control cheaper. And this, of course, is in reference to a story that broke yesterday, namely that Ike Perlmutter, formerly Disney's single largest non-institutional shareholders, which he became because it was him that they bought Marvel from, sold the entirety of his stake in Disney. And he did so relatively shortly in the aftermath of Nelson Peltz selling out his stake. So he sold at an average share price of $115. Now, Mike, this would have been a good deal for him, wouldn't it?
Would have been a good deal for Mexican Iron Man too if he had sold out at the time.
Yeah, would you have been over water if you had sold out at 115?
No, I have 500 and some odd shares between 170 and 178, and another 200 and I got 79. So my dollar cost average is somewhere in the 140s last time I looked.
Yeah, right. So basically you came in at the very top is where you came in.
Yeah. Mexican Iron Man, worst stock advice ever. I like to buy high and worry about selling low.
Yeah, but either way, I do not know, top of my head, I don't know exactly what the share price was it around 2009 when Disney bought Marvel? But I do believe it was a hell of a lot lower than 115. Yes. So I do believe that Perlmutter would have made a killing on this. But I don't know that Disney would have made a killing on him leaving. Certainly none of the other shareholders, because the sheer amount of shares that Perlmutter had being dumped onto the market, that alone would send the share price ever so slightly downwards. And indeed, in the aftermath of these news breaking, that share price has continued to sink even lower, hasn't it, Mike?
Yeah, in 2009, it was $32 a share in the end of the year.
Wow. So $32, and he sold. So basically, he got $4 billion's worth of shares at $32 per share.
Right.
And he sold them out now at 115. That just means he was actually, once he cashed out, he got paid a hell of a lot more than $4 billion for Marvel. He actually got paid more than what Marvel is worth right now, probably. So Perlmutter's record as a businessman remains unblemished.
Right. Versus Mexican Iron Man, who inherited shares that had an even lower cost basis than that, sold them at 170, then bought back in at a higher rate and paid the taxes on his gains. Yep. So the lesson of the day is hashtag be like Ike, don't be like Mike.
So basically, you did the opposite of a short.
Right. Right. You know, what does it mean? What lessons do we? I woke up this morning. I saw Paul Chato's video that made me laugh. Then I saw your video that made me cry. Which was an excellent video, Andre. Everybody,
Well,
go
that's
watch.
fantastic. I love it how we can complement each other that way. You have like this symbol of theater, right? You have like one mask that's laughing and the other that's crying, and how we're able to complement each other that perfectly. So you have like that with the smile and the laugh in two videos in rapid succession.
Yep. I was gonna say that I don't know where we go from here. What does it mean when we see that Ike and Peltz are out? You know, will they really come back? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, would they? I
think
don't know.
they would. I think absolutely. I think
like almost like coming back after Bob's been beaten into the pulp, and if the stock drops again into the 80s and 70s. I mean, what do you guys think? What do you two think? I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
I look at it this way. Like I said at the time, I mean, I see it as a strategy on Peltz's part that he's been using, the fund money, the hedge fund money or whatever to this point, right? He didn't personally own all that stock he was voting with. He had a large portion of Perlmutter stock as well that he was voting with. So at that point, when he didn't get to be on the board, I think he pulled everything out, got everybody in, a little bit of profit on the deal, and that's around the same time Perlmutter pulled out. And I wouldn't be surprised, and I said this then, and I wouldn't be surprised, they're waiting. They're going to sit there and watch for the stock to go all the way back down, probably below $25 again or somewhere in that region. And then those guys will pounce. But it'll be with their money this time, not with shareholder money, or hedge fund money. It'll be with personal money from Peltz, Perlmutter, and probably like Elon Musk and maybe a few other very rich individuals who want to help save this company, because I'm sure it means something to them.
Yeah.
And it does mean something to America, right? Like Disney is like apple pie in baseball. Like Mickey Mouse is as American as you can get. So this is a very important company to save. And I was griping yesterday about how we lost Fox, right? Because of Disney. So we had one company that had been around for 100 years, right? Been a part of our childhoods, especially if you're a Star Wars fan.
Right.
And now it's gone. Just poof, gone.
Poof,
it's
gone.
part of Disney, Don. It's gone. Yeah. So at this point, I think that's the only play they have. Otherwise, they're just jumping out of the ship, and you're going to start seeing the rats follow. Maybe. Because that's what this is. And at the end of the day, it's either a sinking ship that has no chance of being saved, or the only chance it has of being saved is in a few months to a year when the price of the stock gets so low that these guys can come in and basically save the company. That's where we're at right now. And it would have to be some kind of like probably hostile takeover of sorts.
I kind of agree with that. And to answer the question from Packing Protons, I do not think that Perlmutter sold anything in the hopes of driving stock down. I think he bought simply to preserve his own value, because he sees that they have no more venues of control over Disney for the foreseeable future. When they lost the shareholder fight, he has no faith in Bob Iger's ability to turn things around, evidently, and then he got out while the getting was good. And I think it's as simple as that. And as many shares as he had, I believe it's 35 million shares we're talking about, that being dumped into the market, even if it's done over several times, that will drive the share price down somewhat. But that is incidental. There's no explicit intention of driving that share price down. They want to see that happen, but they want to see it happen so that they can get back in again, which I think there's a very, very good chance it will. Just remember, for all of the personal loss that they may have felt in the terms of Perlmutter with losing control over Marvel, being fired from Marvel and stuff like that, he has profited shit ton on this. Let's just see, because
let's do the math here. Let's do a fun
I was
exercise
about to say $4 billion.
You do the math, Andre. $4 billion at $30 a share.
Okay, give me a second here.
Okay, while you're doing that, folks, while you're doing that, the $4 billion at $30 a share, and then selling that versus $115 a share at
That comes up to a crap load.
All right, but while he's doing that, while Andre's doing the math, I'm going to share this perspective. Think about this, Tom. Think about this, and it's going to build on what you're talking about. By them borrowing the 70 some odd billion dollars to do the Fox acquisition and all that, Tom. Think about this. We know for a fact that they have basically not made jack crap off of Lucasfilm and jack crap off of Fox. Agreed?
Probably, I would imagine. I mean, Fox might.
I'm not talking growth.
Yeah.
Net.
At this point, there's no way they've made $70 billion back on anything with Fox. Yeah.
Right. So so Andre, do you have your calculations ready?
I'm not just yet. Working on it.
All right, so while Andre's doing that, here's what I want to submit for the folks watching at home and around the globe. If we look at, here's a Bob Iger run company versus what Ike does, right? Ike creates value. He takes this, and you guys have covered this in all your videos over the years, right, Tom? He's taken something that didn't have much value and created something that was worth so much value that Disney comes in and buys it for the $4 billion, right? So it buys it from Ike. Huh?
Yep, I'm with you. I think I said.
Okay, right. So Ike takes something and he built. Ike goes from 0 to 4.6 billion. Okay, that's what Ike's doing. Ike then now sells it to Disney and rides it from 4.6 billion at the 30 whatever dollars a share, right, to selling his $4.6 billion worth of $33 a share stock. Take those same number of shares, now sells them at 115. All right. So he quadruples his money. So in broad terms, I'm sure Andre's going to correct me on the math because I'm not doing the math. I'm just talking off the top of my head. But if you just look at that, 0 to the 4.5 billion, and then you look at it was at $30 and they sold it at 115. We just for shits and giggles, we'll just do a factor of 4x. A guy like Ike has made money off of his work and off of writing this Disney stock thing to the tune of about $16 billion.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about right. Yeah.
$16 billion. Bob Iger hasn't made $16 billion. Bob Iger spent more than $16 billion on the money-losing thing just called Disney Plus.
Here's the funny thing. Marvel ain't worth $16 billion today. Not
anymore, but Ike is such a good businessman who should be on the board of directors of this once fine company. That if he was on the board, it's that kind of decision making and that kind of business approach from a guy like Ike, from a guy like Peltz. Those two guys on the board at the same time with Rasul, the former CFO. Those three guys, and maybe. Just maybe one or two or three other people that aren't these freaking woke tards that they keep having on the board, and we got a company that we can fix. But without that,
yeah,
we got to train. You know what I look at Disney, Tom? I look at Disney, and you know what I see? I remember when Kmart had these problems. I remember when the once great Circuit City had these problems.
Sears, yeah.
Sears. The Sears,
JCPenney.
JCPenney and Sears were the great shopping giants of America.
Two of the biggest stores, yeah.
The vast majority of families went to clothe their children in the fall and keep the family warm in the winter. Remember those days, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, JCPenney and Sears, everybody, I mean, it was almost like you picked one or the other, right? Like
indestructible companies. We would have once thought, right?
Yeah. I mean,
now
like
here we
Coke
are.
and Pepsi, Hardee's and McDonald's. I mean, it was always kind of like you had the two.
But now here we are with Disney. We got movies that suck. And by the way, these motherfuckers don't get credit for Inside Out 2 being like, unless they course correct and all their other shit.
I feel like they got lucky with that.
They got lucky with that shit. And don't even talk to me about what I want to hear Bob on the earnings call. So help me God, if I'm on Valiant Renegades live show and I hear Bob take credit for a movie that, as you guys reported here on Midnight's Edge, a movie that Chapek greenlit, I'm going to lose my ever-loving taco tortilla mind on that day, because I know Bob, that little slimy piece of horse shit, that he's going to take credit for it. But even that's not a Disney thing. The movies suck, the rides don't work, and they're woke as crap with their TV shows on broadcast, and all their sports network are woke as fuck. And I don't believe their ABC News. I don't believe I think all their ESPN network sports crap sucks. I see a company that's teeter-tottering on the verge of imploding, somewhere between about 4 to 5 years on the early side and 7 to 11 on the outside baseball number.
Well, and that's the thing is Inside Out 2 even a Bob Iger movie? I'm willing to wonder, because like, remember when he came back in and he came in and made that announcement? We got Toy Story 5, we got Inside Out 2, we got Moana 2. I'm willing to bet a lot of these were already in motion before he came back. Because I bet you that's one of the first things Bob Chapek did, was he walked into Pixar and said, quit fucking around, make a few sequels, make some money while we're coming up with some original material. And I bet you $5 that's why we're getting all these movies. You're probably 100% right. Bob Iger's going to take all the credit for this shit, when at the end of the day, the few hits they're going to get here in this little island in a sea of piss, as I've been calling it, are because Bob Chapek was smart enough to say we need to go back to basics. And he was also smart enough when Ryan Reynolds said, I got Hugh Jackman. If we pass this opportunity up, it may not come back again.
And frankly, as you reported, and I agree with your assessment, Tom, had he, his idea to get Kathleen Kennedy to go back to working on Star Wars was good in theory, but bad in practice, because she's a total retard. Or woke tard.
Yeah, because I don't think he understood.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say retard on your show.
I don't care.
I meant to say woke tard.
But at the same time, I don't think he realized that the problem with Star Wars was her. I think that's the thing. And he didn't realize that that's why Bob Iger had went and give her something else to do to keep her occupied. Because that was the only smart thing Bob Iger did in the last few years of his tenure there before he left and then came back again, in my opinion. Because at that point, he took responsibility. He said, the buck stops with me on Star Wars. Mistakes have been made. And then from that moment on, you notice Kathleen Kennedy is over here messing around with Blood and Bone. Right? She's distracted. Even Indiana Jones was kind of just sitting around collecting dust, right? At that point. And then all of a sudden Chapek comes in and all this gets going. I mean, yeah, Indiana Jones, I think, was actually moving along. I apologize. I'm probably wrong with that. But I mean, we're starting to get this idea here where I was getting to is even something like Marvel, which was extremely profitable for them at one point. But how much profit now? Because we've done this with Star Wars and a few of their other properties. They've had how many losers on the Marvel side of things now, to where the amount of profit that they actually have made off of those few movies, because they started their release schedule, I believe, with the Avengers, which I think was a co-thing with Paramount, same thing with Iron Man 3. And then from there on out, they were the ones distributing things. So they have a nice little short window of the biggest hits in Marvel history. We'll give them that. But they've also had this long window of Marvel's biggest flops in history. Right? And if it wasn't for Deadpool coming up here this week, I think the streak would have been a lot worse than they think, right? Because we're looking at Captain Marvel now, the Eternals, which is another thing that'll come up here in a little bit. How many other movies flopped in that era? Thor underperforms. Doctor Strange is probably the last Marvel movie to perform on par. Maybe Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And even that underperformed compared to expectations. So that's where I'm getting here is, where are they even still profitable anymore on the Marvel side of things if you take out the toys and shit?
Speaking of profitable, I have done some more breaking of numbers in the background here. I did some additional reading, and what I see here is that what Ike Perlmutter had, he had 25.6 million of shares in Disney. And we know that he sold them for 115. So that calculates to 3 billion. 3 billion is what he got for those shares. Now, the reason why I didn't have the numbers right away is because there was something I just couldn't get to add up. And of course, this the 4 billion that he sold for Marvel, it wasn't an all stock deal. It was a mixed stock, mixed cash. Now we do not know exactly what he how much he got in stock and how much he got in cash. But looking at the number of shares, if we just assume for the moment that he hasn't done any major trading of Disney shares between 2009 and now, and that may not be true, but if that is the case, the number of shares that he has right now, given the share price of 2009, that comes up to around 1 billion, which tells me, and that seems plausible, that he bought Marvel, or that he sold Marvel to Disney for a mixed cash and share deal of 3 billion in cash and 1 billion in Disney shares. That doesn't seem wholly implausible. And then he now sold his share portfolio, which was valued at 1 billion, and now he sold it for 3 billion, which means that he has earned a total of 6 billion on Marvel. And then, of course, you have to do some adjustment for inflation. And this is a very rounded numbers, and also assuming that he hasn't done any other major trading with Disney back and forth, which he very well may have. We don't know that. Like, for instance, what would change things is if, for instance, if it was a 50% stock and 50% cash deal, which sounds more plausible than a 3 billion cash, 1 billion stock deal. I would imagine a 50-50.
I see. So if it was all stock, it was closer to my number, but because it's, yeah, you're right. It's in all likelihood, it's going to be cash and stock. So it's going to be 6 to 8, it's closer to 6 billion. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, so that's my number crunch, because that's why I needed time, because I couldn't get the math to work out. And of course, that's because it obviously wasn't an all stock deal. I would hope that for his sake it was a 50-50 split, and that he sold some during the proxy fights earlier when the share price would have been even higher. I don't know that, but even if we just use the most conservative numbers, in the most conservative case, Ike Perlmutter has profited 6 billion on Marvel, which is a pretty good deal. Better deal than Disney.
It's more money than Bob knows how to make.
Yeah, this is for sure.
Bob doesn't know how to make shit, Andre.
Yeah. Well, let's see what the chat is asking about. Remember, we had this one from before too. So will we see shareholders? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Finally holding Bob accountable now. I am very glad you asked this question, and my answer to that is a resounding no. The shareholders that will want to see Bob Iger held accountable are the shareholders like Mike here. Mike, how much power do you have over Disney? If you want to see Bob held accountable, what can you do to make that happen?
I can send a tweet on Twitter saying, "Dang it, Bob," and that's about the extent of my power right now.
Pretty much. And this is the problem. All of those shareholders that actually wanted to see things be better in Disney, that had any chance of having any kind of sway, Ike Perlmutter was the single largest of them. Without Ike Perlmutter championing them, they don't have any remaining champions. The balance of power in terms of who has shares in Disney, unless someone like Elon Musk went and picked up all of the Perlmutter shares, which I doubt, then what just happened here, if we just assume that his shares are out on the market right now, the balance of power between the small private retail shareholders that want to see to see a profit, and you can also add like some state pension funds to that in one end, plus the BlackRocks, the Vanguards, and the State Streets in the other end. I mean, there was a mismatch of like power there already because the institutional were already more powerful, but they are now way the F more powerful. So no, there will be no demand from shareholders that Bob Iger be held accountable. There was an opportunity for that, and that was Nelson Peltz. And there weren't enough shareholders to make up the difference then. There certainly won't be now. So the only way that things are going to happen now is if Bob Iger crashes the company so badly that the share price sinks so drastically that not only does Nelson Peltz and Ike Perlmutter come back because it's an opportunity too good to miss, they bring Elon Musk with them at the same time as BlackRock or Vanguard or State Street, most likely Vanguard, are going to lose faith and decide that, you know what, we've lost too much on this. We have so many other things we can worry about, so that screw this, we're selling out. That may shift the balance of power. But all of that begins with the share price cratering. That's my analysis. What do you think of my analysis, Mike?
I think you're 100% on point. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we need to kill that buzzing, whoever's buzzing.
My phone's
I think it's Andre. Then we got Andrew, who says with $5, is Disney at risk of becoming zombie stock like Harley Davidson with 90% institutional ownership and shrinking customer base? This is a good question, and I've seen this, like, you know, in Wisconsin, which is a big, you know, Harley Davidson supporter, and we've got quite a few. I think we got one of the main operations here, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, no, this is could be a problem. What do you guys say to this? Could this happen? Could it just be like a dead stock, basically?
Well, not exactly. I mean, a zombie company is a company that needs like loans and financing and bailouts just to continue to operate, or it's so indebted that, you know, it's basically barely able to repay the interest on its debts and not pay the principal. I mean, Disney is not there yet because the whole reason that this company borrowed money to buy stuff. Now, the value of that crap is tanked, and they haven't paid off these loans, but they're still able to make payments on them. Why? Because people around America and around the globe keep spending money at Walt Disney World and Disneyland and keep propping up this woke-tard company with all their woke shit. 2/3 of all the profits come from these parks. 2/3 of all the profits that's keeping this company going goes from these parks. So all this shit that we hate about Lucasfilm, all these shit that we hate about Marvel, all this crappy animation that they put out is all being financed by every single soda pop, ticket, fast pass lane, whatever the hell they call it these days. You know, this week, this month, this year is being financed. So everybody listening to this show that knows someone who is a friend or family or cousin that's going to Disneyland or Disney World, they're contributing to the woke-tardation of this company. And because this company is a full-blown Americana, as you said earlier, Tom, apple pie in America, all that stuff, well, in my view, supporting Disney with any dollar of anybody anywhere, all it's doing is ruining all of culture and all of civilization with every purchase of every fucking piece of cotton candy and every fucking ticket into every fucking one of their parks.
And there's another thing to add to that as well, and here's why they're not a zombie share, and they're not going to be either. Just suppose that everyone were to do as you said, Mike, and stop going to the parks and stop getting the candy floss and the virtual queuing tickets and stop going to the movies, anything like that. Just say that everyone all over the world had to or decided simultaneously we're going to stop spending money on Disney right now. So all of their incoming cash flow stops. How much is all of their real estate worth, and how much are their cruise ships worth, which is practically real estate? How much value is locked up in that alone? And how much would they get if they started selling those assets? And how long would that keep them going? This is a rhetorical question. You don't need to answer that exactly how long. The point is, just like the Church of Scientology, it doesn't matter if they have like 2,000 members left or something. They can still keep going because they have that much value in sheer real estate. And that alone is going to keep them going, because going gets tough. All they have to do is sell off some real estate, sell off a cruise ship. That's going to keep them going for a good while longer. And that is if everyone suddenly stops going. What's really going to happen is that there's going to be a decline. We're seeing that already. But between the custom that they still have and the value locked up in their real estate, they ain't going anywhere anytime soon. Now, what can happen, of course, is that the massive costs associated with running an operation like Disney can give them short-term liquidity problems. Lack of market confidence can drive down the share price to the point where some kind of corporate takeover becomes feasible. That can happen, but I do not think we can ever get to a point where the Disney share price gets back to the level where it was when, for instance, Disney bought Marvel in the first place. Partially because of inflation, but partially because of Disney is just such a larger company now, which is involved in so many more businesses now than it was then. At least that's my reading of it.
Well, yeah, and I've started to get aggressive about this. I have a client that I was just in his office on Friday. Actually, it's this client, and a good buddy of mine, one of my best friends, and he went to Disneyland. So I got right in his face. I say, you're supporting grooming of kids by what Disney's doing around the country, right? And he says, what? I'm like, yeah. So right there, while I'm sitting there in front of his office, while I'm sitting there doing his accounting tax, I started sending him texts from X or what do you call it, videos and stuff. I'm on a warpath. And I want everybody watches this show and everybody listens to this. If any of you go to Disney World, any of you have friends or family that go to Disneyland or Disney World, you can send all the super chats to Andre and Tom. Please send more. But in addition to that, you got to take action. And the best action, and I've started it, is myself, is I am getting on a soapbox, and every friend, relative, or family member that gets within my known existence, whether it's by Facebook, by Instagram, by Twitter, in person, I'm letting them know that when they spend money walking onto a Disney property, buying soda, buying a ticket, lightning pass, hanging out, pretending they're having a good time with Mickey Mouse, that you know what? You are financing woke. You are financing the destruction of the American family. You're financing the destruction of all that Walt Disney himself once found great. And you are not honoring Walt with your money. You are shaming yourself, shaming the values of this country, and in my view, shaming the legacy of Walt Disney himself.
Yeah, and some people, like Mike's sister, will be very hard to convince of that.
Oh, she's already found out. Guess what? The graduation gift. Guess this. The graduation gift that my niece wanted. Yeah, the trip to Disney World, which I promised her for years. That shit is off the fucking table.
Wow.
She wanted it's her graduation gift from chef school. I said, you want to go? You can go to Universal with me and Max when Epic Universe opens next year. That's your replacement plan, because they were supposed to come here and go at the end of this month of August coming up. Canceled.
Wow. Yeah. No, making a real world impact here.
She is coming with her new husband, with my sister, and I look, before now I wasn't gonna go. I was just gonna pay for it and let them go, and I was gonna go with Max to Orlando. No, screw that. I changed the date for Max. Me and Max are going next week with his mom, and if they want to go to a park, they can go with us to Epic Universe when it opens next summer. I took it off the table. If they don't like it, they don't have to ever talk to me again. Fuck it. Fuck this company. Fuck everything they do. Fuck Disney Plus, and fuck the fact that when I grew up, I wanted to take my 11-year-old. I had a dream, Andre, that I was going to take my little kid to fucking Disney World and experience the magic that I did at Disneyland. And you know who's stolen that from me? Fucking Bob Iger and all of his woke tards. So you know what? I start now. Everybody that I know, and I know a lot of business people with a lot of money that like spending money on Disney fucking cruises. And maybe they'll still go. But you know what? When they spend their money, they're gonna fucking know what they're spending their money on. Because I'm gonna text it, tweet it, message to it, and I'm gonna tell them to their face. I don't give a flying fuck.
Well, good on you. I agree. And I fully support you, because that way, maybe things change enough that by the time my son is 11, I can take him to Disney World.
I don't think it'll be there, but you can take him to. I mean, you come visit me and Tom, and we'll have like little Mickey and Minnie historical figures. You know, like
yeah.
You know.
And now we can go. I know we can all go to Universal.
Yeah.
Which is more fun anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how much more there is to say about this particular case right here. So let's see what you all have to say about this as we go through. We'll begin with the super chats on this particular topic. We got this one, and then Packing Protons says for $10. We learned on that Park Place that the Disney stock was $10 for years until Iger started buying things. People then would have killed for a share in the $90 range. What if it goes down to a normal 10 again? Well, here's the thing. Remember, Bob Iger, he pumped the company full of additional assets. That's one thing. That would have brought the share price up to a level where it can't really go down to the 10% range again, especially in light of inflation, because we are now dealing with nigh on 20 years of inflation since then, and inflation has skyrocketed the last few years because of an extremely poor fiscal policy. So there is that, but also what has changed. This is also something that is on Iger, and that was continued under Chapek. They made it so that the market no longer saw Disney as a parks and entertainment company, but viewed them more as an IT company, something more akin to Netflix. This is something that happened in the streaming wars. I don't know that you get back from that to what it was before. Certainly, I don't think so. What say you, Mike? You think there's any chance that the Disney stock can back to $10 again? I mean, if it does, it's going to be corporate taken over like there's no tomorrow.
Dude, there's no way. Just the real estate value alone merits.
Exactly.
Let's go back to what you said. Just the real estate value alone, it shouldn't ever drop below. I mean, mathematically,
it shouldn't be below 30. There's no way.
There's no way 30. I was gonna say 50, but 30 to 50 bucks on the. I mean, just the value of the.
Okay, let's say it cannot. There's absolutely no way with the current value of the dollar that it can drop below $40-something. There's just no way, because of the inherent value in the real estate there. Only way that happens is if the dollar completely, utterly collapses. Because here's like the thing, this is something that you have to keep in mind. Part of the rise in price here is inflation. And if something happens that makes the value of the dollar collapse, and there are a few things that can do that, the loss of the petrodollar, another thing you can thank the Biden administration for, massively increases the risk of that happening. But barring any massive attack on the dollar itself, given that things are right now, I don't see any situation where the Disney share price can go under $40 or 40-something dollars. If it gets to 40, it can go to 30-something. So then, I mean, I don't see any circumstance where it can sink lower than high 40s. And even that is pushing it.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Look, maybe I'm a little hot this morning because I'm reminded that as Culture was it on this channel? I think it was on this channel. Culture Culture, when we were on together, he calculated how many years it's going to take for me to write off my losses at $3,000 a year.
It's going to take a few years.
27, he said.
Oh wow, yeah.
Jerk.
So yeah, you can look forward to having it written off completely by the time you're a pensioner.
Culture went further. He says that's if I'm lucky. He says if I'm unlucky, then I'll probably be dead before all my stock losses are written off. That was Culture. Our sweet, innocent little Culture casino.
Well, on the bright side, then you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, and Script Doctor's in the back, but I'm not letting him in because he informed me that he's writing a Cocaine Shark script, and I'm not a part of it, so he can just F off.
Yeah, well, it's too bad.
I know more about sharks than anybody.
Okay,
You need the knowledge of the shark. You need the knowledge of the location and the cocaine
you can
industry.
still-
And I worked in Hollywood, so I know that.
Excuse me, I know a lot about cocaine.
Have you ever done it?
Yes. Do you mean today? No, but
Okay, right now, this is what Andre's thinking. This is what happens when the nighttime guys completely take over the show.
No, what I'm
No.
thinking, there's such an obvious solution here. Tom, you want to be in the movie, and Script Doctor, I'm sure that this shark of yours, he's going to gobble up some humans, right?
Yes.
Yeah, well, there you go. There's Tom's cameo right there.
no, we just
Shark
got to
Victim
make sure this
number
is
3.
better than fucking Cocaine Bear, and that's, easy.
I already wrote the ending.
And-
And it's amazing.
Oh, it better be, god dang it.
Well, the thing is, you have to go cartoony with this. You
Does
have
the heart explode from too much cocaine?
one of them, maybe.
One of the we're talking multiple sharks. You save that for the sequel. See, this is why you need me.
I'm not guaranteeing a sequel, man.
Oh, script.
You got to make the first one good enough in order to earn
Doesn't
that
matter.
sequel.
Cocaine Shark followed by Cocaine Sharks, plural.
With the
And then you
dollar
have
sign next to
Cocaine
that.
Sharks versus Cocaine Killer Whales. See, this is where shit gets real in
And then
the
by
third
the time
film.
you get to part 7, where everything is completely a joke anyway, that's when you get to Cocaine Shark versus Cocaine Bear. So
And don't
yeah,
forget Cococtopus.
we got the plan ready.
Anyway, back to this. Yeah, we're just finishing up with the Ike Perlmutter story here.
Yeah,
Script.
indeed. And packing Proton says, if you really made 80 billion on stock sales and Elon just got 50 billion, how much is Disney worth as a whole? Well, here's the thing though. That was based when we said 80 billion there first. That was, did we say 80 billion? No one said 80 billion. We said 16 billion.
Yeah,
Where does 80 billion come from?
I don't know. Wasn't me.
Did you say 18 maybe and he misheard you?
Maybe, I don't know. I was
Yeah, no.
pretty
No
regular
one has.
there. That was three espressos ago.
Yeah. No, we did the correction anyway. I think you may have misheard 18 for.
I meant to say 16, but
Yeah, but anyway, the true answer, or the more likely answer, is that he made 3 billion right now for a total of 6 billion on Disney in total.
let me answer
No.
Packing Proton's question more direct, which is what is Disney worth? Well, Disney is worth the sum total of its market cap. The market cap is the number of outstanding shares times the purchase price times the market price. Right now, if someone wanted to walk in the door and write a check and buy Disney and take it private like Elon did with Twitter, it's right now it's between 160. That will cost you 160 to 190 billion dollars, depending on the discounts or premium adjustments that might be made in an all private buyout of the public stock. You're probably looking at 180
And that kind of
180 billion though.
and that kind of shows you how much they overpaid for Fox, if you think about it.
Oh, that was a joke. Yeah, that was 80 billion. I mean, yeah. So the family owning Fox, they're the ones that got 80 billion. Well, boy, they made a steal on that.
Oh yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like if Disney's only worth about 90 billion right now, that means Fox should have only sold for about 35-40 billion.
Yeah.
That sounds more correct.
Because Disney has a lot more going for it as far as like monetarily, so I could and hit wise. So like, yeah. Anyway, that being said, moving on.
Lost for Words has been a member for 30 months, and we're glad to have you. Date to the
Yeah.
Bed has been a member for 2 months and says, last night I rewatched Wall-E and Beauty and the Beast 1991. The quality downgrade in Disney since those movies is far too great to measure. It's sad. Yeah, I agree with that. Both of
Yeah.
those were fantastic movies, especially Wall-E. I mean, I was blown away by Wall-E. What say you, Script?
Wall-E was fantastic and way ahead of its time. I mean, one of the things that worked out with Pixar, at least in those days, is that they every single writer among those 7 Pixar films were all working together to make the best version of their own movie. Like right from script all the way to recording, all the way to your final models and final rendering. And they spent years working on those stories. I remember when Albert Brooks was talking about doing Finding Nemo like 4.5 years before we was even properly announced and even getting a trailer. Like that's how long ago they were working pre-production wise for these stories. Since Disney kind of took over and slowly edged out John Lasseter, they have been compressing that turnaround time because they think the higher the output, the faster the profit return. And for a short while, and I mean a very short while, like 3 years, that worked. But it doesn't. But the thing is, in that 3 years, because of that short turnaround, that short development, that massive amount of output, you've now created the pattern of low quality to your audience where they're not going to show up for anything else in the future because they've already seen the direction that you're going and they're disagreeing with it. Mm-hmm. So that's where they killed themselves on the Pixar side of things. Just on that angle, like the whole other angle with all their DEI stuff, the D-files that Film Threat did, etc. That just added more fuel to that profit-driven fire because they weren't looking at how to make more money with each product they make. They're more looking at how to make more money faster. And I think that's due to the fact that Iger spent so much money at Disney that he needed to, earn it back as quickly as possible to justify the expense. And at the same time, also show that the choices he made in those purchases were wise.
There's another reason as well. Interest payments, because Disney have lenders that they need to pay the loans back to. And when they pay these massive sums to buy something, then typically there are some very large interest payments that need to be paid back. On that note, there was another super chat here.
I just wanted to say Wall-E is probably the best Pixar movie ever. And it's probably one of the best examples of how to do a message without making your audience feel like they're being served a message.
Yeah. But also on this note of interest payments, John Doe said for $5. Remember, Ike basically got Marvel for free in bankruptcy court because Toy Biz had the perpetual merchandise rights, so it was worthless to others. Mm-hmm. This is not entirely accurate. I'm not saying it's completely wrong, but there's some detail that's missing here.
Well, he had because he had a majority of interest into the company, he was able to take over the rest of it at pennies on the dollar compared to a third party coming in to get it all, or for them to be further breaking it up into smaller parts.
Correct.
If I remember correctly, yeah.
But those pennies on the dollar, they amounted still to a whole crap ton of dollars.
Yes.
And they needed to make those deals with Sony and stuff like that in order to actually pay for these interest payments. These were big ones. I mean, there were like multiple tens of millions of dollars that they had to pay to financiers, to banks, and to other partners in there just for the deal to be maintained and to prevent bankruptcy court from coming in and taking everything from them again. So they had to make deals in order to basically keep the repo men away. So it's not as simple as that they got it for free. No, they got it for pennies on the dollars, but they still had to pay a shit ton of dollars.
Well, they were also able to stave off bankruptcy because they made deals with Fox Sony and Universal on some of the characters for their film licensing rights. If the bankruptcy wanted to come in and take all of it, they'd then have to renegotiate or actually make a claim against those other 3 studios, because they would have an active license that would also have to be reappropriated as well. They wouldn't by default own that, if memory serves. So that was basically like, if we start selling these characters' films rights to these companies, that buys us time to keep the bankers basically off our backs for maybe a year or 2. And then if they did it quickly enough, they could, basically create furlough that. Sorry, not furlough. Roll over that dollar amount into actually paying off some of the debts and lowering down that interest, so that they can actually retain ownership.
Exactly. So basically, bought them time to get the bankers off their back. Period. But in order to do that, they needed to make the deals happen. And in a sense, they bit over more than they actually could chew at the time. And it was only because of the deals that they made that they were able to pull it through. Because both Avi Arad and Ike Perlmutter were independently millionaires. And Toy Biz, their company, was very successful at the time, but it wasn't successful enough that it, under normal circumstances, would have been able to pay the bills there. It took a lot of financial acrobatics and maneuvering to make that happen. And I have maintained ever since I read that story that if someone wants to do like a real exciting corporate merger drama, that is it right there. The story of that acquisition of Marvel, like the failures of Marvel up until that point, and exactly how that was done. I mean, the right director and the right screenwriter could do a Ford versus Ferrari out of that.
You could. I mean, it's a lot of research to get to, and you'd also need a good financial advisor to sort through all the records, because it's
exactly, because I mean, that's some proper financial acrobatics that they went through there. And as someone from the world of finance, when I just read the gist of it, and I don't even know half, but I was impressed with what they were able to pull there. Most people wouldn't be able to pull that off, because they really went above their weight class there.
And you'd have to convey it to an audience the same way that they did in the movie The Founder, where basically it's about a fast food chain, but they just said, well, no, it's really about rental and retail. Like if you own the land and you rent out the franchise to build on that land, that's how you make this into an empire. Like, you have to be able to have as clear execution of that, of the tax and finance jargon, in order to convey it so easily for an audience to understand. That's the real trick. It's not enough just understanding. It's like, well, how do I translate this so that average Joe knows exactly what they did and can actually get excited about, them pulling it off, essentially.
Indeed. So yeah, that's some exciting stuff right there. I'm going to do a couple of more of these super chats, and we move on to the next topic here. Michael MacLeod says, for $10, expect other shareholders to follow suit. Where Perlmutter goes, people will follow. I kind of I'm not going to provide any kind of financial advice. I'll just say that the ones I really want to see go are the major institutional shareholders that Bob Iger is beholden to, but unfortunately, they are probably the last to go. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but that's probably what we are looking at. Magnum North says, for $10, Iger has no precedent to pick his nuts up now. Abandon Disney's dog immediately. And Magnum North is probably not the financial advisor either, so we leave that to you. I don't know what Mike is planning to do, but his track record in buying and selling trade so far, if we're using Disney as an example, is not the greatest. So he also is not the financial advisor. But then again, that's just an elaborate gambler, isn't it? Then STR Red Wolf says, for $5, would the impending California strike affect Mike's holdings? It feels like it's going to get worse before it gets better. The California Disney strike. Script, can you just get everyone up to speed? What's this California Disney strike about?
Well, this is across.
Maybe Mike can say how he thinks that to affect his holdings.
Well, this has to do with a lot of the staff at the parks, various divisions. I think there's 4 of them, if I'm not mistaken, and they have all agreed that they are going to go on strike if they don't get a proper contract for the upcoming period. And guess what? Disney parks at California side looks like it might go that way because Disney doesn't want to spend some cash investing not just in their staff but also in their the parks themselves and maintenance and customer service and quality control and all those types of things. There used to be a Facebook page. I haven't seen it because I've been on Facebook in like 9 years, but there used to be a Facebook page where Disney cast members anonymously would post what happened on their day, and it would be a mix of terrible management and also crazy customers, including people on scooters getting off their scooters and fighting each other like it's a boxing ring in front of children, and they would have to either break it up or call security to help break it up because Disney would not want to get involved. And then on top of that, the people that would fight would end up getting like free extra passes or a hotel comp and stuff because they didn't want the bad reputation of that event to affect Disney. So they would actually sacrifice their cast members, which I think is insulting to call them that, at the behest of the customers, at the behest of higher management. And they've been complaining about this for years. Now they've kind of basically collectively bargained, and they're trying to get a little bit more money, a little bit more oversight, is my understanding. And if this goes on strike, that's going to probably do a dip in it because it's only the California park, where I think most of their money comes from the Orlando park because that's far bigger. So we'll see what happens. It's definitely not going to be ideal, and it could cause some issues that might affect the Orlando park, but they have a different infrastructure. I don't think they have a full union over there for their staff at the Orlando park. But I don't know much more than beyond that because it's a little bit too early in the talks, is my understanding.
Mike, does that sound like something that's going to bring your value of your shares down even further?
Well, yeah, I think it's the optics of this. The optics are just not good. So, right now it's being, I think, seen as a minor labor dispute, but it's really indicative of a lot more going on. And I find it ultimately ironic that Disney, who supposedly cares so much about so many, doesn't care at all. And I saw the replay of the show that you guys had with Andrew from Legal Mindset last week, and I thought his comments were super on point.
You mean yesterday?
Was it yesterday?
Yes. Well, sorry, Monday. Sorry, today's Wednesday. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Friday. That's right, Monday. Yeah, I saw the replay. So yeah, I thought he was completely on point. But these are all optics, and what Bob's going to do is he's going to use the success of Deadpool to not talk about any of these little things. And I'm sure he'll, if asked about it, if it comes up, he's going to say it's a minor labor dispute and they're handling it because that's what Bob does. Yeah, I don't know exactly. All I know is definitely not going to contribute towards bringing the value of your shares up. Of that, I'm certain.
No, nothing can make that happen unless Script Doctor leaves Canada and goes and fixes Disney like he was supposed to do already.
Yeah,
I'm kidding. I'm just teasing you, Script.
I'm trying.
I know. I'm just teasing you.
That would help though. Glade Ribbon says for $5, $5 for a Mexican Iron Man rant, since the F-bombs might have demonetized the stream. Yeah, this tends to happen. And Terry Scott also says, good afternoon, gentlemen. Hope someone clipped the Mexican Iron Man rant. Yeah, that may happen. Who knows?
Yeah, but we can't use it unless there's a lot of beeps in it, because I lost my ever loving mind. See, Tom, that's why you and I get along so well. I chide you and tell you to calm down, and then what do? I go and be worse than you.
You do.
That's funny how that works. Mario Trujillo has been a member for 19 months, and we are glad to have you. And he also says for another $10 on top of that, Disney is a dying brand. There's no coming back from this. Even if they did somehow right the ship, it would take years, if not a decade. And by then, the market is going to be full of competition. Well, there's some pretty hefty competition there.
We actually have some live video at the stock exchange right now for
Yes, I'd say it's a full-scale panic. Are you having a run on the bank scare yet? Well, it's rather brutal here. We're advising our clients to put everything they've got into canned food and shotguns.
Yeah, there you go. And Packing Protons clarifies that 80 was someone in the chat before Andre mentioned the proper amount. My bad. Oh, okay. That's where it came from then. Oh, no worries. And you didn't have to send the correction, but we do value it. And then Kanan has been a member for 16 months, and we're glad to have you. And then we're going to switch to another topic here right now, namely the Acolyte and Season 2 of that. To wit, Magnus Toth sent us $20 saying, did you catch the Red Letter Media review of the Acolyte that dropped last night? Mike and Jay took their job seriously this time and did a really thorough analysis. Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear it. In my personal case, the answer is no. I did not watch the Red Letter Media review, not for any particular reason other than that I don't watch Red Letter Media videos. The only videos of theirs I have watched are their really classic videos from years ago, the absolute fantastic breakdowns of like the prequels and stuff like that, like these works of art. Those are the ones that I have seen. I generally do not see any of their other videos. This is nothing personal because I spent so much time creating content myself. I don't have much time watching other YouTube videos, and when I do, comparatively very seldom do I watch reviews and videos from this sphere of the internet. When I watch YouTube videos, it is typically completely different topics. So no, I haven't seen it, but that's nothing personal or something. I just don't watch their stuff as a general thing.
I don't watch a lot of their modern reviews anymore. I used to, but I've kind of gotten to the point where all I really watch is their best of the worst type stuff. Because I feel like they're completely out of touch anymore when it comes to newer films and shows. Good for them if they did a good job on it. I haven't seen it yet. I thought I heard somebody talking about it, but yeah. Unless they did it in a way like the old Star Wars Episode 1 is worse than the most disappointing thing since my son. Unless they're doing it like that with the old Plinkett, then I don't care. If it's a Plinkett reveal, I would watch it. But they haven't done a Plinkett review in what, 3-4 years now at least.
I think they did a Force Awakens Plinkett review. And
I was going to say that maybe even more than that now that you mention it. Yeah, script, it might even be more than that. Yeah. So closer to 10 years now.
Yeah, that would be about the last time I saw one of their videos, because again, those are the videos I'm interested in. The full production Mr. Plinkett videos. And if it's not that, I don't care, because I don't think that they have much insight that I couldn't have come up with myself. And then why would I watch it?
Yeah. Well, and what I mean by out of touch, Max, is like their takes on some things are just completely off. And this was before they even took a personal jab at us and a lot of other people in our sphere without actually clearly watching any of the videos before they made that blanket statement, which I believe they did again in another video.
Which I still haven't seen, so I honestly don't care.
So it's just there, and it's like, you guys have no room to talk about any of this shit. You guys built your entire career on this shit. It is like it is some of the most hypocritical shit I've ever seen out of them. So yeah, like they really kind of lost a few notches, in my opinion. We got Bebop Boop, who sends in £4.99 or pence, right? I think is how you say that. In order to combat the Disney monolith, how should their competitors proceed? Do Warner Brothers, Paramount, Comcast, etc. merge, sign exclusive deals? What do you think? Well, Disney isn't the monolith it used to be.
Yeah, its monolithic period was like 6 years out of entirety. First of all, the big studios, the other studios merging would be the worst thing for the industry ever. So you don't ever want to do that. You don't want to see that. The studios, other studios, they just have to stay the course. They'll find Disney's killing themselves. Let them go. They're fine. They don't have to do anything at all. Disney is doing it to themselves. And the longer Iger's there, the worse it's going to get. So yeah, all you have to do is sit back and relax. You're good. And if you're a Disney stockholder, I'm sorry. I hope you bought in at 15 and 20 and then sold at 220 because that
we don't need to mock Mike anymore now.
Oh, sorry, Mike. I'm sorry.
Wow. Tough crowd.
He's already on watch as it is, so
I'm being good now. I've calmed down.
all right, good.
Yeah. But listen, Hollywood will bounce back and recover, sadly. And I said this before, when Disney's share price is around the $40 mark, because that's where it belongs, essentially, compared to
Honestly,
all the other studios.
Right now, things are kind of getting back to what I would call a new norm in a way, because we've seen a few stories. They've talked about this. Now, I wouldn't jump on the train of the box office is saved and all that kind of business like some of these folks have.
Mm-hmm.
But we've seen a steady rise in walk-up business, which is something we didn't have for a while. And that's a big deal because that means that people are just deciding to go to movies on whims now again, unlike they did before where it became, people would just stay home and or go see it opening weekend and then a movie would die, right? We've seen a lot of films actually have legs. We're not seeing the every weekend be bombarded by 5 new movies. It's hard to believe this, but if you go back in history, Disney only used to release like 4 or 5 movies a year.
Yep.
And that was even during the 80s. Like, if you go back farther than that, you're like 2 a year in some cases. They never used to be this big juggernaut of a studio. It wasn't until they got involved in television and home video and other things came along and cable that they started pumping out more and more material. And that, of course, that's across the board with every studio. But even back in the 80s, the average studio would only pump out 12 to 24 features a year, major features.
Yep.
Now you get that almost every weekend here for a while we were.
Well, we had the tentpole period. So basically the studios would be trying to make every single movie a tentpole film, and it didn't work. Ideally, you just want one tentpole per quarter. That's all you need, just for a year, because that tentpole is, if it succeeds, it pays off all your failures for that quarter and ideally for any in the future, and so that you're able to yield a profit. What ended up happening, and Disney's basically the primary person that did this, because even when I'm looking back at the catalog of Universal Pictures and Paramount and even Warner Brothers to a degree, they did not have the output at the tentpole level that Disney had. That's why Disney was able to dominate. They had their MCU, they had their Star Wars early on. That's what they were doing to bring in all that.
They had Pirates at the same time and a bunch of those other type of things. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they had Pirates and
Pixar.
Pixar is different because Pixar wasn't like a franchise of itself in the same way like Pirates and.
I get what you're saying, but people kind of did treat Pixar like it's its own brand of like.
Yes.
Like people knew a Pixar movie, right?
Mm-hmm. But they were never pumped out in the same frequency, not until more recently. That's the other part. Like a Pixar film was something that you would wait for in anticipation. Whereas Disney said, okay, no, this is what we're doing. We're doing 3 Marvel movies a year. We're doing a Star Wars movie every 6 months, essentially, because they would, and then the Pirates, they were doing one every 2 years, but that was based on Johnny Depp's schedule because they could not do one annually. Right.
Well, the whole idea is they're like, well, we make more profit, which worked for a little bit on certain terms. But after a while, you're spending a hell of a lot more out than you're bringing in, as we see with a lot of these. And this is across the board. Again, it's not just Disney. It's all the studios. And we're starting to see the studios cut back on their productions. And I think we're going to start seeing a lot more less than $100 million productions going forward, except for certain big tentpole movies.
Well, I mean, on the Paramount side of things, if it wasn't a J.J. Abrams production, it was like Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible was really the only
or Transformers.
Thing they did. Transformers never crossed 120 million in production. But
really,
I don't think so. I'd be surprised if they
I'd
did.
have to look.
Same thing with Universal. Even their Charlie's Angels, their Terminator stuff, they never got close to $200 million in budgets. And the only things that Warner Brothers did that got outrageously expensive was their DC slate. So, I mean, and Sony never spends over $150 million on a movie. They're cheapskates over there, and that's to
Not
their
since
benefit.
the Amy Pascal days, no.
Yeah. So yeah, Disney's just the only one that's been pulling basically a Mel Brooks, the producers over there. Because what other studio has crossed into the $300 million mark for a production that isn't Amazon or Apple that can afford it, right?
Yeah, pretty much Warner's the only other studio, and that's just because of the Flash and the DC stuff, like you said. So
yeah. So I mean, the spending is actually kind of normal when you're not dealing with a big IP film over on the studio side of stuff. So they're kind of sticking with the course. The only main difference being is that their quality has switched gears. Like I said, like was it on this show within the first 20 episodes, I said 2024 is going to be the year that you'll start to see the significant change because they've already learned the lesson there, and it's going to take that long for whatever they're put into development to get into production and get into release, and we're going to see it. So we're already seeing those things there. The only studio that's not doing it is Disney because they haven't had a change in leadership and they're not going to admit failure.
yeah. Well, and that's the other thing we were talking about yesterday was Deadpool. We don't even know the actual budget on that yet, right? So we know that likely Inside Out 2 is going to be a pretty profitable film for them, but Deadpool, we don't know the budget. There's people estimating somewhere between 200 and 350 million. And considering how much they spent on the last few Marvel films, I'd believe it. And it'll probably make $1 billion, but
it's going to have to probably. But I would imagine that break even.
Yeah, it does, because I made a bet with Mr. H that it's going to be the biggest movie of the year, so it better be.
Yeah, I like your thinking there. No, I think that movie is going to have a break-even point of around 800 million, and Disney internally will regard it as a disappointment if it fails to break $1 billion, because that they have put so much money into that, they have promoted in such a way. And just remember, more than a decade ago, when Man of Steel came out in 2013, so this is now 11 years into the past, the then head of Warner made the relatively stupid mistake of admitting to the public that the internal success threshold for that movie 11 years ago was 1 billion. And we heard similar reports when Batman v Superman came out, that the internal threshold for success for that movie was also 1 billion. So there ain't no way that they are expecting anything less than $1 billion for this movie 11 years later.
We actually have somebody here who's seen it.
Wow.
Paulie. We did, and then he left.
Yeah, we did.
Is that because he saw I was here and then he left?
I have no idea. He did see the movie and then he took off.
And then he's like, that Mexican.
Well, we may have technical issues, but either way, do check out Paulie and the gang over at Midnight's Edge Espanol after.
What a little shit! That's all he came in here for.
What?
He just came in here to promote that, and then he took off. You little jerk! No, you've seen the movie. Get in here.
Get back in here.
I don't want to spoilers. I haven't yet.
What the hell?
We're being summoned. I'm not even a YouTuber, and I'm summoning him.
Because of that, we're not promoting that link. Sorry.
Yeah. Now we're not promoting that link. That's your FU like script got this morning.
It's already
well, technically, we have to promote that link, technically, but
don't. No. Yes, check out the Espanol after the show. But no, I was curious to hear what Paulie said because I thought he had enjoyed it from what I had heard. But no, it's getting fairly.
Paulie wants to keep it all to himself.
Well, he may not be. I don't know if he can say anything yet or not. Well, that was the other thing.
I haven't seen it yet.
When are you seeing it, Andre?
Now he's back.
6.5 hours.
Here he comes. Hey.
What happened?
So since we had you for a few minutes, we wanted to see what you thought of Deadpool since you saw it the other night.
Oh, give me a second. Hold on. I got roaming.
Oh, he's got to turn his porn off.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Oh, he may not be able to hear us.
I don't think he can hear us.
Yeah, that's the
I think Paulie looks good with his glasses on. Can I say that?
Yeah, he does. He looks all smart like.
Okay. All right. Can you hear me?
Yes,
we can hear you.
Okay.
So
Hi,
yeah, I don't
everybody.
want a single. I don't want a single Deadpool spoiler because I'll be seeing it in 6.5 hours. I
Oh,
just want to hear, was it good? Did you like it?
loved it. I'm seeing it again
Fantastic.
tonight.
That's all I want to hear.
Okay, can I go now?
Yes.
Yeah, now you can go.
Yeah, no, I
Love you.
put up my first major spoiler in a short. If you want to go see that short, it is in regards to a cameo. And Tom, when are you seeing it, Tom?
In just over 24 hours.
Ah, man.
None
Yeah,
of
I
us,
know.
none of us that aren't fancy pants film thread friends get to see it till tomorrow, Paul.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we're Latino Slant has half access now, so we're able to get Rosa in. She couldn't get the +1, and then Alan texts me and is like, "Oh yeah, I want to go." So,
That's nice.
we're waiting for her official review. Will be tomorrow, but that's full of spoilers. But I did get this.
Oh, you got the
They did give us
sex toy.
Yeah. So they filled it up with popcorn. If you want to make me big, hey now, and it says designed by Deadpool, so it's gonna be
I
right.
like it.
Right, it's gonna be subversive and perverted. So it's like you get your popcorn, but I was having a hard time getting the popcorn. I was like, nah, this does not feel right. I'm gonna take this off and just eat the popcorn.
Wait a minute, they got a rubber thing like the
yeah, it's gross.
Dune. Oh yeah,
Well,
that's stupid. Why do they have that?
Well, here's why. I'll tell you in a second. But they also have a tongue.
That's how you know it's designed by Deadpool. I mean, that's the thing that people have to keep in mind.
Yeah.
This movie right here, like, I do not feel bad about supporting Deadpool because this movie did not come from the Disney or Marvel brain trust. This is a Ryan Reynolds production.
Yes.
It's different. And this is something you want to support. This
Completely.
actually, I want this to do well because Disney needs that data point. They need to be guided and see the way, which is why audiences need to show this is what we want and this is what we don't want. Give them very clear data points.
So one more thing too, and what I did is that since they gave us a drink at the theater, it's a drink holder. That's why it's kind of rubber top.
Oh, okay.
So it's a 2-in-1. Anyways,
so it's easy to carry. Actually, that's not too bad, but I don't like the idea of
it's pretty cool. I did give away to the members last night on Latino Slant a Twisters t-shirt. That's not my first tornado, everybody. That's he says that in the movie.
I told you that movie was gonna kick ass.
And I'm gonna give this. I was thinking of, I was thinking of actually sending this to Fletcher Williams because him and his wife love the film and he does so much for us.
Oh, that's actually kind of cool. I like that.
It's a cool it's very good quality. I'm gonna send this to him, I believe, but they give you the swag on these.
That's how they get you to give it a good review, huh?
I think that's what they were trying to do. But last year they did that for Indiana Jones, where they try to booze everyone up before you walked in.
They tried giving you booze for that. They're like, here, you're gonna need this.
Dude, they had a 5-table spread right in front of the theater on the Disney lot script. That Disney theater? I forgot what it's called. The screener theater.
Yep.
And they had the whole catered layout. They had empanadas, they had tacos, they had booze, they had 2 bars. Little did they know, I'm 9 years sober. Ha ha ha! Not gonna get me.
So and that's how we got.
No, that is pretty bad.
Indiana Jones anyway.
That is pretty bad if they got to boozy up to try and get a good review.
Well, I mean, a lot of the studios, when they have those premieres, they always have drinks before and after. Did they encourage people to hit the bar?
I was gonna say they were probably insistent. They're like, no, you need a drink.
No. They trust me. And it was a lot of the Access media that we know. And then me, I'm there with Dante and Chris, looking all punk rock, and we're just like, "What's up?" And they're like, "Here's your tickets. Here's the bar. Here's that line. Here's that line." And no, this was like at least a half hour before.
Oh wow.
and that was last year. But yes, Film Thread has been very supportive of the Latino slant,
Cool.
and so has Midnight's Edge Espanol redirect right after this. You got Lily,
we got
you got
one-
Fletcher.
We got a super chat here for you
Oh.
before you do take off on
Let's
us.
do it.
STR Red Wolf sends in 5 and says, Paulie, is the movie better than the promo Xbox controller set designed by Deadpool?
Oh God, STR Red Wolf. I don't know.
Did you see them? It's got their butts.
Oh,
Did you
does
see
it?
that?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Let me see if I can bring
Guys,
it up
I don't
here.
want to overhype it.
Yeah, believe it or not, one of the people who usually does hype up some of this stuff was saying that it just didn't quite hit the mark for them. So there's a few people now coming in with lesser reviews, but
I've been hearing
I've
that.
not seen too many bad reviews. Yeah, these are the controllers. We saw these.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Wow.
Yeah, there's so much I could say, but you know, Andre doesn't want
Well,
me
I'd
to
rather
say
not
anything.
hear it. Again, I'm
Right.
seeing it. Well, to
Right.
be fair, I'm also seeing it tomorrow. It's just that because of time zones, my tomorrow begins in a little under 6 hours now.
Yeah, again, so I started the mini spoiler, one spoiler as to a cameo that's up on our latinoslant.com. That's in our news. And then tomorrow I'm gonna go see it again tonight, but then tomorrow will be a full spoiler review.
All right.
So because it is one of those things where me and Rosa were like throwing back texts. He's like, "Did you love that line when the da 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 da?" And I'm like, "Oh man, I was laughing. I must have missed that." There's a lot of that going on. You know, it was like kind of some run on, you know, kind of that
Running jokes.
Ryan Reynolds isms. You know,
People laughing over the jokes so you couldn't hear it. Yeah.
yeah,
That's just good sign of a good comedy.
We need it.
Yeah, we need it.
All right. Well, with that, we'll see you on the show later, and you take care of yourself.
You take care of yourself.
No.
Up there.
Take care. Thanks for hopping in.
All right, guys. Much love. Later,
We
chat.
got some breaking news here. Disney stock is down to $90.
Yep.
All right.
Almost touching the 80 then.
Yep.
And Deadpool isn't going to help that before anyone wonders, because one movie just doesn't have enough impact on a corporation as huge as Disney. It is not.
If it did, we would have seen it during Inside Out too. Yeah.
Exactly. The share price is not decided by something as petty as each individual movie release. That is not what determines the share price, or is even a deciding factor. So,
now, to be fair, just about every other major stock is down, actually some by a few points. And I think that has to do with a lot of the political shit going on right now more than anything, most likely.
I'm sure. Absolutely. I'm sure.
Because you've got like Amazon that's down 2%, Apple down 3%, Microsoft down 3%. Like, yeah, these are major stocks. So like everything's kind of down.
Markets like stability.
Even Netflix is kind of fluctuating right now.
Yeah. Markets like stability, and the people that went to election on being the adults in the room, they haven't been the adults in the room, and they haven't provided stability.
Well, if we have time, we may get into that a little bit here, like you said.
Yeah, indeed. But before then, we have a couple of more. We got this.
We got this one. Okay.
Yeah.
And we got. Did we get this one though? I don't think we did.
We did not get this one for script. SFX 314 Saber Tooth Raptor says $5. I would watch a script crafted Pompeii movie. It probably would be more historically accurate and epic, better than Gladiator 2. Yeah, that probably doesn't require much. Thoughts? Yeah, thought script.
If I was going to do a Pompeii movie, yeah, I'd keep it really. I'd just pick one big battle to focus on, not muck it up with a whole bunch of other stuff just because you don't really want to.
Honestly, anything would be a better idea than Gladiator 2.
I don't even know exactly what they're doing with it. It's hard for me to grasp what they're doing with that film on that trailer, and also the mixing of rap music or hip hop music, and not even like good rap or hip hop. It's all looped from other better song. It's just
Well,
Yeah.
not just that. Let's be real. This idea is straight to video level. You should
really
not be
is.
spending $300 million.
It's Never Ending Story Part 3 and 4. Like, level.
Yes.
That's
Or
what it is.
Scorpion King is another one people have been comparing them to, as all those sequels and such,
Oh yeah,
right?
Scorpion King 2 was a direct to video. I remember.
And well, Scorpion King 2. Well, you're insulting Scorpion Kings 2, 3, 4, and 5, which were also direct to video.
I forgot about those ones.
Oh, I didn't, but no, like, I mean, in fact, those are actually better in a way, because at least you still had your main character alive, right? Like, this makes no sense.
Yeah,
Like,
because
this is just
if I was gonna do a
ridiculous.
Pompeii thing, I probably would have the first act be the volcano, and then just focus on a smaller group. Because again, there's some infighting and stuff, but not leading up to it. I wouldn't do any of much of the leading up to it, because there's been a couple of movies already about that. There was one with Donald Pleasance, I think, years ago. That was terrible. But yeah, like the whole, I'd focus more on.
You like
on that
movies
stuff.
about gladiators?
Yes.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
I make a grown man naked riding a horse.
Sorry, every time I hear Gladiator, that's all I think about.
I miss Peter Graves.
So you like Gladiator films? Or is it movies, however he says it, yeah. Anyway, no, like, I think it'd be cool to see a nice epic. And these come along every once in a while, we'll get a good one, but the last few we've gotten have been crap, especially like the Clash of the Titans remake and that sequel. Then Henry Cavill did one too, right? Immortals or something like that.
Immortals, yep.
Yeah.
With Tarzan Singh.
Yeah, there was kind of a period there where they were trying after 300 and some other stuff like that, but you never know. I don't think Gladiator 2 is going to do any good, though.
Well, Gladiator 2 will have a spectacle aspect to it, but I don't think it's going to have unless it's got a really great story. I don't see it having the legs there, and looking at the credits, it doesn't give me much confidence. But I will say there are definitely Greek and Roman epics should be coming back more into the fold, along with some interesting, like, proper mystery style, maybe a little bit of like noir. Might be a nice change of pace to what's being put out right now, because you need a counterbalance. You can't just have the domination with regards to the modern day fantastical of a superhero. You need something else. Like, I think The Twisters is a good example, because that's just, a basic thriller, disaster type movie,
film, yeah,
which is very much needed. We got a little bit of the romantic comedy with Anyone But You, another Glenn Powell film. So we need a little bit more of that to spice up the variety and give people options to see on the weekends. And then, that's part of the healing process. When we start going to see, if once a month we were able to see on a weekend, we got an action movie, we got a disaster movie, we got a romance movie to pick from, that is a good sign. Because unfortunately, we're not going to see big comedies coming back for at least another 2 or 3 more years, because Hollywood still has not learned that comedies are a domestic market, and you have to budget them appropriately. You have to push them hard domestically for it as well in order to sustain the industry. So when they start learning that lesson again, then you'll start seeing the fourth one into that bunch. And that's what you want. You want people to be like, I'm going to the movie theater. I've got 4 options, which means, I can come back for the next 3 weeks and see each one of those and not have to worry and not have to worry about them being garbage or terrible, or at least your threshold of level of garbage and terrible will change. Because right now, audiences have been conditioned to, if it's not woke, therefore it's good. It's like, well, that's stage 1. The next one is, it's got to be good enough to spark a debate in regards to conversations, how great it is, how weird it is, what's the movie really about on the deeper level, and not so much on, a messaging pushing, like a fad ideology type of deal. Those are the types of conversations that will revive the movie theaters and the movie industry in general. And we're still a little bit of ways from getting to that point, but we're on the rise. So I hope you got your money out of that SFX F13.
I think you did. Then we got Dash Attack in the house. How you been? It says, my sister is getting married this weekend. Probably won't see it this weekend. Well, congratulations to your sister. But I'm so bored this summer, I may flip-flop on my boycott of Disney.
Well, if you're gonna flip-flop on anything, well, I
suppose this would be the one to do it.
On, because again, this is a Ryan Reynolds production, more so than it is a Kevin Feige production. I'm
and
sure
it
it's
was
going to
backed
say
by
literally,
Bob Chapek.
yeah, a Kevin Feige production on it, but that's a late addition to it. This is a Ryan Reynolds Chapek production, and if there's something to support, even if Bob Iger is gonna claim credit for it, nothing wrong in a project like this being a good data point for Disney. And speaking of data points, there was some breaking news here about a director that we have covered before. This broke just a little while ago. I saw it in the background here, and this is someone that we have had a lot of fun with before. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Feig is back again for another theatrical movie, his second one since Ghostbusters 2016. Paul Feig teams with Blumhouse for pick inspired by Worst Roommate Ever. Script, is this something that you're familiar with? The Worst Roommate Ever?
I'm not familiar with Worst Roommate Ever. If Blumhouse is giving him a shot, it means that Paul Feig is not getting his $30 million plus movies anymore.
No, that is right, because his
He
last
hadn't for
movie
almost
was a
10 years
Netflix
now.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's he was really burned by Ghostbusters 2016, and rightfully so. And I will say this: Paul Feig, when he can do female comedy that fits to female audiences. Like that's his target, and he was able to budget appropriately for that. He had The Heat, he had Spy, all the Melissa McCarthy stuff.
Yeah.
That's
He
his
was
wheelhouse.
good at taking male-driven genres, throwing a woman in it, and making it funny.
Well, he basically he rebrands it for women and focus on women. He doesn't just throw them into a male-driven thing. He's like, let's take the male concept and let's apply that to women and how women do it. And he makes that work well within those budgets. So this is him kind of rebuilding his career right now. And if he can get The Worst Roommate Ever to actually be a hit, he'll be back. But listen, Blumhouse is giving him a shot. They're known for keeping their money their budgets very low, with the exception of The Exorcist. So, okay, good luck. Let's see. Did you learn your lesson, Paul?
What's going to help him? Because yeah, this is Blumhouse, and it's not The Exorcist, so chances are this is going to be so low budget that it's a relatively low barrier for success here. Because the problem with the Ghostbusters was that he just spent way too much money on it, and I do believe it. Well, it had nothing to believe. It obviously placed him in director's jail for quite some time, because honestly, the only thing he has directed since Ghostbusters 2016 is a couple of shorts, a couple of like special skits for Jimmy Fallon and other late night stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then he directed a low-budget Christmas rom-com called Last Christmas, I think it was. Yeah, Last Christmas in 2019. That didn't do anything. And then he directed a Netflix production in 2022. And in the 2 years since, he has done pretty much, if you pardon my French, fuck all.
Well, he's basically the textbook. You're only as good as your last big hit in Hollywood, right?
Which
not only that, the fact
good at all, because he doesn't
and the fact that he's still getting a shot, I mean, is surprising to me, because look, it has, yes, well, the failure of Ghostbusters was part of it. The amount of money spent on it was part of it. But I think the bigger part of it was the way he reacted to the way we were reacting to the film, right? Like his vitriol, or however you want to put it, towards the audience, and how it turned the audience off. And his inability to listen to the producers. Dan Aykroyd basically told us what happened in so many words. Just expand upon that. They told him what they needed as producers, and he didn't listen. And when he didn't listen, he went and cost the studio more money than they already wanted to spend. And then, as you and I know, Tom Rothman came in and said, "What the fuck are you doing? You know, spending all this money on a movie that is not going to make the money back." right? We knew this. Everybody knew this. It was never going to be profitable. Especially considering, like, at that time, the movie cost what? $250 million, I think it was.
Something
I
like
don't
that.
think it was 250. It wasn't that much. It
It was
was
over
Oh.
200 because they
something.
went back to do reshoots.
Yeah,
and
see,
higher
that's my
premium.
point, Andre. Yeah, they spent more money on it than you think.
If they were able, I don't remember right now. I don't remember it. But like, that's a very unofficial figure of 250. I mean, I'm not going to rule it out. I'm not ruling anything.
Okay, according
out.
to this, they spent 144 on the initial production.
That sounds about right. Because
And then we don't know what they spent on. I think Dan Aykroyd himself said they spent what, 30 or 40 million more going back.
50 million. So that's
So add that. That's almost 200 right there.
million.
And then the advertising campaign, which was big.
Yeah, then I agree. If we're talking total negative costs,
Yeah.
then I agree 250 million.
And they said it only lost 70 million, and that's where we're all like, bullshit, maybe in its sleep. Like double that. Then that's probably what it lost, we were figuring.
Indeed. But yeah, as
and that, my friends, is the story as to why Paul Feig no longer makes movies in Hollywood.
Yeah, well, we'll see if he can come back from this. I just thought that was like an interesting little thing, since it broke right now while
it's sad because what Script was saying is like he could have continued on this path that he has, and he could have been this niche like guy who just basically took, you know, as we were saying, male driven genres generally and applied them to women. And he could have done that forever. He could have done it forever.
Yeah.
Like,
and he was better than Judd Apatow.
Yes, he's definitely better. He was better because I actually liked The Heat. I know most people like Spy.
Yeah, Heat was.
I actually preferred The Heat.
And Bridesmaids. I mean, Bridesmaids, Heat, and Spy. Those are three great movies.
People forget Melissa McCarthy got nominated for an Oscar for friggin' Bridesmaids.
Yeah. No, exactly, because that kicked.
He was bringing comedy back to Oscar at that point. Sorry, go ahead, Script.
Well, because Bridesmaids kicked off her career after her Mike and Molly series. So she was doing Mike and Molly, which was not good, but she was the star of. She ended up overtaking the comedian that the show was supposed to be centered around. And then she did Bridesmaids, and that blew up her career. Like, that's the reason why everybody knows her. And she leans into it. I mean, listen, all I'm curious is, did Paul Feig learn his lesson? If he did, we'll find out with Worst Roommate Ever.
Yeah.
Well, and people did praise that Christmas movie he did. I heard it got, it didn't do like the greatest at the box office, but I remember.
Money, though.
Yeah, critically though, I think it did pretty well, and I think I even remember talking to some people who had watched it at the time it came out and said it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
It's kind of like with what's his face from Star Wars, Rian Johnson, right?
Mm-hmm.
He stays away from Star Wars, does things like Knives Out. A lot of people generally like those movies.
Yeah.
So, do your own thing. It's not and that's where Rian Johnson went the opposite direction. Instead of trying to remake Clue, he made his own version of it, right? And that's what Paul Feig used to do. So instead of making Ghostbusters, he should have just made his own version of Ghostbusters, right? This time it's just run by ladies. In fact, if you read, and this goes back to your initial digging through the emails and such, Andre, because I remember digging through this when we were looking through stuff again, and I pointed it out to you. I don't know if you remember this or not. It's like you're reading what he wanted to do, and it's like, he did not want to make a Ghostbusters movie. He actually wanted to make a Men in Black movie. Yeah. If you really look at what he was trying to do or what he really wanted to add to Ghostbusters, it's like, why didn't somebody go, time out, get this guy over here to make Women in Black? Because then you could have done that as a spin-off of Men in Black and not an actual sequel or remake.
You actually could have done that with Ghostbusters too, only instead of doing a remake, have them do a charter and answer to their boss who demands payments, their boss Bill Murray from the original franchise. Right. There are many ways you could have done it. It was Amy Pascal that screwed that.
Well, right, but I mean, at least with Men in Black, you actually have the word men in the title, which you could flip for women, right?
Or you can call it Ladies in Black, it's lib.
Ladies in Black, there you go. That works too, either way.
Because you got women's lib and lib, liberation.
Yeah, and I mean, at that time, it could have come at the right time for that, and if it would have been decent, and it didn't have to stomp on the other one, right? You could even have had a cameo with Will Smith, right?
Sure.
It could even have been a spin-off character from one of the, like, what's her face from one of the last films that became a Men in Black person. Yeah. Anyway, that being said, moving on. Yeah, we got the last millennial.
Yeah,
said
the
it
last millennial
on
sent-
Ghostbusters, yeah.
Yeah, for $19.99. Script and Tom. Here's a good question. When did the other studios back off from woke films? Was it New Terminator? And was 2016 Ghostbusters the first song of their studios doing the woke DEI agenda? When did it start and end for them?
I'm curious how Script will react to this question because no, 2016 Ghostbusters was not the first one.
No.
It was the first one we noticed. In fact, you got to go back to like Fury Road and stuff like that. That's when that
Earlier,
kind of started.
It-
Yeah,
it
even
was
earlier
showing
than
up
that, it started
on
leaking
TV.
in.
The first time I heard of social justice was in 2009,
Yeah, that sounds about right.
and it was creeping in slowly. Ghostbusters 2016 was probably the first big IP that leaned into it.
It was the first time people noticed, really.
Yeah, it's the first big IP that leaned into it, allowing for people to actually figure out what it is and see what it is. For Sony, I'm trying to think of any other films after 2016's Ghostbusters, or at least after the 2016 slate that follows similar levels.
Just their Spider-Man stuff, really. Like
Venom,
anything,
not much.
Not Venom, but like Madam Web.
Madam Web
the
doesn't do any of that
Spider-Verse.
stuff, sorry. No, it
Yeah, for
doesn't.
that you can thank Amy Pascal and her desperate
Yeah.
plea to make that female Spider-Man.
But that's
thing,
what I
and
mean. That's like the last remnants of that
Yeah,
because
they-
once Tom
that-
Rothman
that
came
period.
in, once Tom Rothman came in, Sony just became business as usual.
Yeah.
Unlike,
Because again, like a lot of the studios were not really interested in that. They experimented with it, but not to the degree that Disney did. So you have like Terminator Dark Fate, right? That's Universal's big experiment with that. And
no,
it
it was
failed.
Paramount.
Oh, wait, sorry, that was Paramount. I keep forgetting them because they're back and forth, right? So, because what was it? Genesis was Universal?
No, they were all Paramount for the last couple movies, except
They
for Salvation. I think Warner released.
So wait, then that would make. I need to get
Warner
this.
did Terminator 3 and 4.
They were
and then
just
Paramount.
distributors.
Skydance, Skydance bought them
for them.
in between there at some point.
There.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would then go through Paramount, which means that's what Paramount did. Universal then have to been Charlie's Angels, because they betrayed Bosley, with Patrick Stewart playing the character.
No, Sony was Charlie's Angels.
Sony was Charlie's Angels. Then what was Universal? Because I'm trying to think. Maybe
Universal actually stayed pretty fucking neutral. They were the ones who stayed fairly neutral through the whole thing. I'm trying to think did they really have anything that really leaned into it much other than, were they the company that put out Bros? I think one of their smaller companies put out Bros, but other than that,
smaller company put out Bros.
Underneath their
Sony did two mistakes. They did the Charlie's Angels. They did Ghostbusters 2016. Paramount with the Terminators. Warner Brothers with some of their DC stuff.
And it really hit head with the Furiosa. Don't think that's not.
Well, yeah, but Furiosa was more tasting it as opposed to committing to it, because again,
yeah, I'm just saying that's like where I think the road ends. Is my point with them, Warner Brothers, because they were hitting. Warner Brothers and Disney were probably the two biggest, right?
Yeah, because their Birds of Prey was the really egregious one, and they completely backtracked after that. That Harley Quinn Birds of Prey thing, that was horrible.
Yeah, because they were going to turn the whole DC into woman. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Andre.
And Wonder Woman 84. Let's not forget about that.
Wonder Woman 84. Jeez, that's yeah. I don't know how much that pushed the agenda. That was just more bad than the agenda stuff. But it was because again, Pedro Pascal was okay in that, but the rest of the movie was really terrible. Just
he wasn't the problem. Let's say.
I'm just trying to think like specifically pushing an agenda anti-male.
Amazon, Netflix, Disney, and Warner Brothers were probably the top as far as pushing the agenda shit.
Warner Brothers really only did it with the Birds of Prey stuff.
Keep in
mind out
with
quickly with their pushing of the females because they got a new leader in.
Well, and you had what, Ann Sarnoff or whatever it was in there too.
Pushing out for years, and she got pushed out before she could actually do some real damage. So
yeah, here's the thing to keep in mind though, because it really wasn't that many in Hollywood. We say Hollywood as if it's like one person or one institution, but in reality, it was mostly Disney and select movies from other studios. But because Disney is so wide and their movies are so big, you get an unfair selection. You get like an impression that the problem is more widespread than it really is. Because, like, for instance, if you go see 5 movies a year,
Mhm.
and 4 of those are woke Disney movies, you're going to get the impression that everything is super duper woke. But in reality, there were a dozen movies opening every single week that you didn't see, that didn't suffer from the woke mind virus. That's like the things. You kind of get like this file drawer problem,
Mhm.
where you go and see the
Just a
woke
lot of the
stuff.
higher profile shit, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, because really where you're seeing the woke stuff is on the television side of things. Like Warner Brothers with their CW network, they had a bunch of woke shows, tons of them.
That's a good point. TV went woke way before movies did. Good point. Because that's when I started noticing, and I'm like getting to a point with stuff on television, like good examples like the CW with every superhero having to have a team. And not only did they have to have a team, it was chock full of strong, independent whammons.
Yes. So Greg Berlanti and Ryan Murphy were two of the architects of a lot of the woke movement. Max Landis also contributed a little bit of that to that as well, with his Dirk Gently stuff and some of the other specs he was writing and pushing out there. So yeah, TV is where you get the dominant side of it. I mean, heck, just what was that thing that's being memed all the time of, racism created a tumor in a kid? Well, that's television, and like that's your woke crap.
Yeah, that was that one show,
What's the honest
Amsterdam.
with that, actually? I mean, that's what a joke that is.
So
And that's a couple years old now, actually. Yeah.
So yeah, that's where you're seeing it more prevalent, and the reason being is because TV's quicker turnaround than film. So yeah, then you go to Star Trek Discovery. Well, that's that's a very egregiously woke and DEI agenda, politics wise things.
Well, and let's be real. As much as we like Brian Fuller, there was going to be woke elements, even if he was going to be involved, right? Because we tried to tell people, like Mikey Spock was a character.
Yes,
that's still one of his characters. He may have
handled
handled her better, but that's not. Yeah.
Michael Burnham, Stamets, Lorca, those are all his characters. So yeah, like it's the thing is, like, what he wrote was more Star Trek appropriate than what was rewritten by Kurtzman and co. So
right,
that you also have to consider is like, well, okay, if you're talking about diversity and experiencing different types of life and stuff, Star Trek is a great method to do that because they know how to do it well. They've got at least 30 odd years, 35 years of experience doing that well, without it seeming like it's a form of manipulation or an agenda pushing thing. It's more an exploration. It's like, oh, this is how this culture does it. Well, let's explore. Let's see what that is. And that's about as far as it really goes. It's the exploration, not the pontification. And so, but yeah, on the TV side of things, that's kind of where you're getting that stuff in its heyday. And that's why, I guess that's why some people have been cutting cable, because, well, why watch TV when you could watch Netflix and watch your classic shows that don't have that type of stuff? Whether they register, that's why they're doing it or not. It seems to be a motivation, because every single show that's blowing up on Netflix is a network show that has 6 to 7 seasons that people just didn't watch normally on at the frequency and the market share when it was on network television, but now they're binging it on network. So yeah, that Suits phenomenon. You have Bryan Cranston show that's after his Breaking Bad that's on just came on Netflix, that's charting in the top 10. So yeah, there's clearly, when TV changed, so did Hollywood, and it seeped into the feature film side of things. The studios at the feature film side did their experiments, which I would say are a handful compared to what Disney ended up doing, and they changed gears. But I think because those studios don't have the brand recognition that a Marvel and Star Wars had, we as in the audiences kind of got lost in the weeds and seeing like, oh my God, Hollywood's woke because it's all Disney, Marvel, Star Wars products that are dominating the atmosphere. They're taking all the oxygen out of the room, and we are now equating this is where the studio system is functioning by way of Disney, because they're making the most money, they're leading the charge. So we have to assume all of Hollywood's doing this. When you start looking at the roster and you start really scrutinizing those films, you're like, well, they're not great films, they're not terrible films, they're not woke films either. Some have a little thing here and there, but nowhere near onto the level that would actually really bother audiences the way that Disney's been doing it. So it seems like they did their experiment. It didn't pay off. They've done their own thing. Competitively on the box office side, they're not pulling in bank. Why? Well, because when you have a studio like Disney that releases 4 Marvel movies and a Star Wars movie in a single year, that and that's in $9 billion, that's really hard to compete against. When audiences are like, well, I'm just going to go to those movies because I know those are good. Those are brands I recognize. I'm not going to go to this, intriguing political thriller that Universal put out. That's really fascinating and thrilling, and stars like Aaron Eckhart or something, right? So that's just the way that it is right now. So yeah, I mean, I think it started in 2009 slowly on the television side of things. It was experimented between 2016 2019 on the studio side. All the studios, excluding Disney, seem to have backed off from it. And
that is a great way to get a lot of value for a $20 super chat.
I was going to say, speaking of pontificating, I think you got your answer to that one. And as far as like when it will end, I don't think we touched on that. So I'll end with that. No, it's never going to end. It'll just be less than what you've noticed now. And it'll go back to indie fare like it used to. Make no mistake about it. This whole movement, this whole push was about propaganda. It wasn't about, we want to do better. We want to be better. We want to show more. No. They used Star Wars. They used Ghostbusters. They used Terminator. They used all these things that they knew people knew as basically vehicles for this bullshit.
And then they angled it in as a new marketing experiment to get more of eyes on their product. And it got the wrong eyes on the product.
And then you know what they did next? They read the next super chat.
They did. And that is commerce, my friends. Jay Aldridge sends in $5, says, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever everyone is. I think Jay may listen to some Mead Radio. And also be a Truman Show fan. So there you go. And we got Last Millennial here who says, wait, so the other studios never did woke in movies, really? But what about on their TV shows? Weren't they doing stuff on their streaming service? Yeah, we kind of actually touched on this. I think
we sent this covered this already quite in.
But I mean, yes, they all did. They all have, or they have adhered to some sort of DEI quotient of some sort. But here's a good example. I remember when Andre would point it out, and this is just with the first Dune film. This isn't referring to the second film. In the first Dune film, when they had gender and race swapped Kynes character, the rumor we had heard, and it was almost kind of confirmed, I think, right, Andre, that basically Denny was told, you either do it to somebody or we're going to do it.
Pretty much. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
I don't know that it was ever confirmed in the trades.
I think he had alluded to something like that, though, in some interview.
He alluded to something like that, and I heard it from some source behind the scenes, that there was a quota, and if he wasn't able to fulfill it on his own, it would be fulfilled for him.
So, yeah. Anyway, we have Chris K, who's been here for 14 months, and says, how long does the panel foresee it taking animation to start backing off the woke stuff? Well, animation, depending on where it's from. See, here's the other problem. You have so many different places where animation comes from. And I'm sure, as most people know, in different countries, different things are accepted differently, or have always been, anime is very different from Western animation, for the most normal example, right? And of course, as Script was pointing out earlier, animation takes a hell of a lot longer to make than other things usually. So the development process, the writing process, the actual physical animation part of it after you do the voices and all that business, I mean, it takes years in some cases, if not, multiple years in some to produce some of these things. So it may take a little longer in animation than others. And not only that, you got to remember, the more artsy fartsy something is, the more chances they're going to have the fruity people in there. You got to keep that in mind. Like, that's why when you look at a Sylvester Stallone production, it's no surprise that it's never really been woke. But if you look at something on Netflix that's like She-Ra, well, of course, that's woke as fuck, because the people that are making it are woke as fuck. So that's another thing you got to kind of look at, too. So it all depends on who's behind this stuff. I guess that's the best answer, wouldn't you say, guys?
Well, yeah, it's whoever writing the check. That's the taste you're going to get in your product. And so if people that are writing the check are into the woke stuff, that's what you're going to get. And if they aren't, well, then you're not going to get that. And that's on the bare minimum side of things.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but again, I think it's all going to vary where you come from and who's making it. But yeah, we did have, I think, one or two more short stories we wanted to get to before we got out of here. I think we can rest assured, or at least breathe easier, that we won't have to sit through another Eternals film. And I think we have the answer now as to whether or not they're ever going to acknowledge that there's a body sticking out of Earth or not, Andre.
Yeah, indeed. That is the gist of this story right here, which comes to us from Cosmic Book News. which they took from an interview Kevin Feige did with Inverse, if memory serves. And the question here is about what's the status for the Eternals 2? And Kevin Feige, who we have heard earlier, is a big champion of the Eternals 2. He really wants to do a second Eternals movie. Unfortunately for him, Bob Iger doesn't want to do an Eternals Part 2, allegedly, because according to this report, Bob Iger only wants to do movies that he considers to be guaranteed hits, whereas he considers the Eternals 2 to be closer to a guaranteed flop, because that's what the first one was, so he has no interest in doing it. Of course, if he only wants to do guaranteed hits, then I have some bad news for him about the upcoming Captain America 4 and Thunderbolts. I'm not too optimistic about their prospects, or indeed anything that is coming on Disney Plus from Marvel, with the possible exception of Daredevil. But yeah, according to this report, no Eternals 2. But as Tom was alluding to, the fact that there has been a dude sticking out of planet Earth, and when I say dude, I mean a giant celestial that's sticking up halfway into the orbit of the moon almost. This is something that at the very least will be, if not addressed, then referenced, that happened in the upcoming Captain America movie. So if that's going to do anything more, I don't know, but it appears that that's an issue that may not be resolved then, unless they do it somewhere else. So, Mike, we haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah.
Are you saddened that there won't be an Eternals Part 2, since you were such a big fan of Part 1?
You loved the first one.
I went to go see this in the theater, and I was asleep by minute 40, and I woke up, and I think I was an hour and a half in, and I looked up, and I was like, my eyes are like, and I looked at my watch, and I was like, it's still going. I didn't finish this movie. I walked out and went to the bathroom, and then got some popcorn, and then called a client, and then I just never came back out. Well, I walked into a parking lot and I walked out.
You just kind of forgot that you were at the movies at that point.
Kind of. Bro, it was, you know, and here's the problem. Like, I go to the movies early usually, so I can see all the previews, and then they always show like Looney Tunes old Looney Tunes things,
Lucky
stuff. Huh?
Lucky.
Yeah, at my theater they always show Roadrunner, you know, old Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny, all kinds of stuff. They always show that before, in addition to the preview. So I always go early. So I'm already, you know, by the time the movie starts, I'm at least 25, 30 minutes in the seat. Bro, this movie was so boring. I'm just like.
The best thing about that movie was the debate that I had with Robert Meyer Burnett after it, which you will find.
Bro, I don't know how he liked it.
I don't know how he liked it either. And after the debate, I still don't know how he liked it. But that debate was fire, though.
I was like, right, so maybe I was 40 minutes in. I don't know, but I was just like.
All I know is I had this on in the background. I never actually sat down and watch it. But it had it on the background, and I swear the movie went on for like 7 hours. All I kept thinking is like, this movie is still going?
Yeah, that's that. When I woke up an hour and a half later from my nap, like I looked up, I was like, oh no, I missed. I'm like, I'll go get it, and then I said, okay, I'll go get some sugar, some popcorn. That'll keep me awake because I'll be moving around, you know. I got the popcorn, I got the Slurpee, and then I got a call from or a text from a client. Call them. Next thing you know, I'm talking in the parking lot, and I'm like, I'm not going back in.
Well, like, which is funny because that's like, just like, you're like, you might even just forgot that the movie wasn't over yet or something. I can understand that and see that. Cause like, you could kind of just phase in and out of this film. Now I remember the funnier story was when you went to see Shang-Chi. Cause like you deliberately walked out of that bitch.
Right.
I think you even texted me or called me right after. You're like, this fucking movie, you're like, I can't even get through it all anymore. And what the hell is this thing floating around? It doesn't even have a head.
Like it's got no eyeballs, no mouth. no nothing, but somehow the mystical little rabbit chicken creature is going to lead everyone to the interdimensional portal. That's gonna save everything and everyone. I'm like, get out of here with this stupid story. You know, frankly, that movie lost me. I've said this before. That movie lost me when the two valet yo-yo millennials were at the last minute getting first class tickets to China, which are about $8,000 each. Get out of here with your valet, with your last minute. I live with mom and I got enough money to fly to China on a. Get out of here. They lost me. They had me that. I was out already. Anyway, sorry did I derail the show. What were we saying? Oh,
that's quite all right.
See, that's what I mean. The Eternals. Like, I can't even keep my attention as a analysis. Like, I can't even. And I saw the movie, or I saw some of it. Well, yeah.
I can't remember it.
Oh, and Salma Hayek is smoking hot, and I was just like, where is she?
Yeah, she was barely in the movie, really, that I can recall. I don't know.
That was pretty boring. That was a pretty boring movie. But we'll see how fun Deadpool is, which is what's coming next from Marvel, for which they should be thanking Bob Chapek and Ryan Reynolds, as he's the one that made that happen. And I actually look forward to seeing it in 5 hours now. So yeah, that should be fun. Should be fun.
Excellent. Well, was there another story we had here? I can't remember.
No, I believe that was it, and we are duly caught up.
Okie dokie. Well, with that, let's go around the horn here. Mikey's not a YouTuber, so he claims he doesn't do anything.
Nope, but I will be at Doom Talk Show tonight.
Yeah,
that's not how not being a YouTuber works.
I don't know. They didn't say it in Spanish, so I don't understand. So.
Well, and besides, if he didn't do that, what would he do instead? Like watch some Alf episodes? So
yes.
No,
I would gladly watch some Alf with
make
him.
Make appearance. No, right now wait, will I be on Doom Talk Skater? Maybe I won't. Actually, I don't know. Anyway, what's Script doing? That's how infinitely more.
Yeah, what do you got growing on Script? I know you got a show coming up Saturday.
Yeah, my Saturday show is we're going to be reviewing a screenplay that was recently purchased by Orion Studios called If I Had Your Face. So we're going to see if Orion actually has some taste or if they bought a dud. You'll find out this Saturday.
Interesting. Yeah, and as for us, we dropped a video earlier today about the details of Ike Perlmutter selling his the remainder of his shares. Of course, we've been speaking a lot about that today as well, but check that video out if you haven't seen it. We are working on the next video already. It's about Assassin's Creed, and also about the rewriting of history and entertainment in general. So we always go a little bit beyond that one story. So that's a fun video you're going to want to check out. And then, of course, there's Midnight's Edge Espanol that this stream redirects to. Tom, is there anything else anyone should check out?
I will be actually joining George tonight for a bit, as well as my normal Wednesday 4K or physical media show over on Fanzine. So check us out there. I believe 7 Central, I think, is when George's stream starts. So yeah. I'll be there. I don't know who else is joining us, but it sounds like it'll be fun. Other than that, just watch out for the videos that we're always trying to get more and more out. We do our best. That's
Indeed.
it.
And with that, it is time for some koalas. Wait, Script. Was there anything you want to push other than your Patreon?
Well, the Patreon is tied into the Saturday show as well. So if you want to get advanced knowledge as to what we're reviewing on the Saturdays and have earlier access to me as well as seeing all my tips and tricks on writing and various reviews, go check out my Patreon and subscribe to my channel, youtube.com/scriptdoctor.
Indeed. Yeah, that's what I was waiting for. So with that, it is time for some koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain. given. Koala, koala, koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain.
We got one in Spanish for you, Mikey.
Oh, for God's sake! I was about to what? It says ActionCom says accept it. You are a YouTuber. No, I'm not.
No, I could read
He'll
that. It
accept
says,
that. He'll accept that.
"Acceptello, you're is a YouTuber."
He'll accept that the day when Alf comes out of his spaceship and tells him himself. With that, resume the koalas.
Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given.